I spent 3 days preparing the perfect Thanksgiving dinner for my family. 22 dishes. Everything homemade. Turkey, stuffing, 3 kinds of pie. At 2 p.m. on Thanksgiving Day, I went upstairs to change clothes before guests arrived. When I came back down 15 minutes later, my kitchen was empty. Every single dish was gone. My mother-in-law had loaded everything into her car and driven to her new boyfriend's house to pretend she'd cooked it all herself. What she didn't know was that I'd installed security cameras the week before. And what happened next made her regret every lying breath she'd ever taken. My name is Diana. I'm 32 years old. And this is the story of how my mother-in-law tried to steal my Thanksgiving and ended up destroying her own reputation, her new relationship, and any chance of ever being welcome in my home again. But before I tell you what I did with that security camera footage, if you're already hooked, I need you to subscribe right now. We're building Auntie's channel to 10,000 subscribers. And every subscription helps us share stories where mother-in-laws don't get away with their schemes. Hit that subscribe button because what happens next is absolutely satisfying. Let me take you back to the beginning so you understand exactly what kind of woman my mother-in-law Linda is. I married my husband Tom 5 years ago. From the very first day, Linda made it clear I wasn't good enough for her son. At our engagement party, she told Tom in front of everyone that he was making a mistake. At our wedding, she wore white and cried during the vows like she was at a funeral. At our reception, she gave a speech about how no woman would ever love Tom the way she does. It was uncomfortable, inappropriate, and honestly creepy. But Tom just laughed it off. That's just how Mom is, he'd say. She means well. But Linda didn't mean well. She was possessive, manipulative, and determined to make my life miserable. She had a key to our house that Tom had given her years before we got married, and she'd use it to let herself in unannounced. I'd be in my pajamas on a Saturday morning and suddenly, Linda would be in my kitchen criticizing how I'd organized the pantry. This isn't how I taught Tom to keep a kitchen, she'd say, moving my spices around. I asked Tom to get the key back. He said that would hurt her feelings. I changed the locks. Linda cried to Tom that I was keeping her away from her son. Tom made me give her a new key. Every family dinner at Linda's house was a competition. I didn't know I was entered in. She'd serve elaborate meals and then say things like, I'm sure Diana's cooking is nice, but this is how a real home-cooked meal tastes. She'd show Tom photos from his childhood and say, remember when it was just us? Before everything changed. She'd buy him expensive gifts I couldn't afford and say, a mother's love is irreplaceable. I tried to be patient. I tried to be kind. I tried to build a relationship with her. But Linda didn't want a relationship. She wanted me gone. Then 6 months ago, Linda's husband, Tom's father, died suddenly of a heart attack. It was devastating for everyone. Tom was heartbroken. I felt terrible for Linda despite everything because losing your spouse of 35 years is unimaginable. I tried to be supportive. I brought her meals, helped clean out her husband's belongings, called to check on her weekly. For a brief moment, I thought maybe this tragedy would bring us together. Maybe Linda would finally see me as family. I was wrong. 2 months after the funeral, Linda started dating. Which was fine, everyone grieves differently. And if she was ready to move on, that was her choice. But she became obsessed with impressing her new boyfriend, Richard. She'd post photos on social media of elaborate meals she claimed to have cooked. She'd talk constantly about how Richard said she was the best cook he'd ever met. She'd show up at our house with Tupperware containers, asking me for recipe advice, and then taking photos of my food to post as her own. It was weird, but I let it go. If pretending to be a great cook made her happy, whatever. Then came Thanksgiving. Tom and I were hosting for the first time in our 5-year marriage. Usually we'd gone to Linda's house, but this year I'd insisted on hosting. I wanted to create our own traditions. I wanted our home to be the gathering place. I invited Linda, Tom's sister Rachel and her family, my parents, and a few close friends. 20 people total. I was excited but nervous. I wanted everything to be perfect. I spent 3 full days preparing. I'm talking about the kind of cooking that takes over your entire life. Tuesday, I made 3 pies from scratch, pumpkin, apple, and pecan. I made homemade cranberry sauce with orange zest and cinnamon. I baked 2 types of bread, honey wheat and rosemary focaccia. I prepared a green bean casserole with crispy onions I fried myself. Wednesday, I prepped the turkey, a 22-pound bird. I'd brined overnight in apple cider and herbs. I made stuffing with sausage, apples, and sage. I roasted root vegetables with maple glaze. I made mashed potatoes with roasted garlic and cream cheese. I made sweet potato casserole with a pecan streusel topping. I made macaroni and cheese from scratch with 3 different cheeses. I made gravy from turkey drippings and homemade stock. Thursday morning, Thanksgiving Day, I woke up at 5 a.m. to get the turkey in the oven. By noon, my kitchen looked like a restaurant. Every surface was covered with dishes. The turkey was golden and perfect. The sides were ready to reheat. The pies were cooling on the counter. My house smelled absolutely incredible. Everything was timed perfectly for our 2 p.m. dinner. I was exhausted but so proud. This was going to be the Thanksgiving everyone remembered. At 1:30, I went upstairs to shower and change clothes. I'd been cooking in sweatpants and an old t-shirt for 3 days. I wanted to look nice when guests arrived. I took a quick shower, dried my hair, put on the dress. I'd picked out a burgundy wrap dress that made me feel festive and elegant. I did my makeup carefully. I put on the pearl earrings Tom had given me for our anniversary. I looked in the mirror and felt beautiful and accomplished. Downstairs, the most incredible Thanksgiving feast was waiting. Guests would arrive in 30 minutes. Everything was perfect. I smiled at my reflection and went downstairs. The kitchen was empty. Every single dish was gone. The turkey, gone. The stuffing, gone. 3 pies, gone. 22 dishes I'd spent 3 days preparing had vanished. The counters were bare except for the empty roasting pan and a few serving spoons. Linda had left behind in her rush. I stood there in my burgundy dress and pearl earrings, staring at my empty kitchen, unable to process what I was seeing. For a full minute, I thought I was hallucinating. I thought maybe I was so tired from cooking that I was confused about what day it was. Maybe I hadn't actually finished the food. Maybe it was still in the oven or the fridge. But no. The oven was off and empty. The fridge had been cleared out. The serving dishes I'd carefully arranged on my dining room table, all gone. Even the pies I'd left cooling by the window had disappeared. Someone had come into my house and taken everything. I checked the front door. Locked. The back door. Locked. No signs of a break-in. Whoever took my Thanksgiving dinner had used a key. And there was only one person besides Tom and me who had a key to our house. Linda. I called Tom immediately. He was at the store picking up ice and last-minute drinks. Tom, is your mother at our house? My voice was shaking. No, why? All the food is gone. Every single dish I made. Someone came in and took everything. Tom laughed. Actually laughed. Diana, that's not funny. The food can't be gone. I'm serious. Come home right now. Something in my voice must have convinced him because he said he'd be there in 5 minutes. While I waited, I walked through my house looking for clues, and that's when I saw it. Through my kitchen window, I could see my neighbor's driveway, and Linda's car had been parked there earlier. I'd noticed it when I went upstairs but thought she'd arrived early to help. Now her car was gone. I ran to the window and looked outside. Tire tracks in my driveway showed where someone had backed up close to my garage door, close enough to load heavy dishes without being seen from the street. Linda had stolen my Thanksgiving dinner. Tom got home and immediately started calling his mother. No answer. He called again. No answer. He called his sister Rachel. Have you talked to Mom today? Rachel said she'd spoken to Linda an hour ago, and Linda mentioned she was running late because she was finishing up some cooking and would meet everyone at our house soon. Finishing up some cooking. My cooking. The cooking she'd stolen from my kitchen. Tom's face went pale. She wouldn't, he said. But we both knew she would. We both knew she absolutely would. My parents arrived first, expecting a feast. My mother took one look at my face and the empty kitchen and immediately understood something was wrong. Honey, what happened? I couldn't even speak. Tom explained. My father, who never raises his voice, said a word I'd never heard him say before. My mother hugged me and I finally started crying. 3 days of work. Gone. 20 people about to arrive for Thanksgiving dinner. Nothing to serve them. And my mother-in-law had stolen it all. Rachel and her family arrived next, then friends, then Tom's aunt and uncle. By 2:15, our living room was full of confused guests. Everyone was asking what was wrong, why there was no food, what happened. Tom tried calling Linda again. Still no answer. Then, at 2:30, Tom's phone buzzed with a notification. Linda had posted on Facebook. The post showed my dining room table. I recognized the tablecloth. The centerpiece I'd made. Even the serving dishes, loaded with all my food. But the location tag said Richard's house. The caption read, Thanksgiving dinner is served. So blessed to share my homemade feast with my wonderful Richard and his family. Nothing says love like cooking from the heart. My homemade feast. My cooking. My 3 days of work. And she was at her boyfriend's house pretending she'd made it all. The comments were already rolling in. Linda, you're such an amazing cook. This looks incredible. Richard is so lucky to have you. My hands were shaking so hard I nearly dropped Tom's phone. Tom looked like he wanted to vomit. Rachel gasped and said, "Is she actually insane?" My mother said something I can't repeat here. And my father said, "Call the police. She stole from you." But I didn't want to call the police yet. Because I suddenly remembered something. 1 week earlier, I'd had security cameras installed. Tom had been skeptical about the expense. But we'd had a package stolen from our porch and I wanted to feel safer. We'd installed cameras at the front door, back door, and one in the kitchen pointing at the back entrance. Everything recorded to a cloud server. I hadn't even thought about checking the footage. I grabbed my phone, opened the security app, and pulled up the kitchen camera from 1:30 to 2 p.m. There she was. Linda, letting herself in through the back door with her key at exactly 1:32 p.m. She looked around, clearly checking if anyone was home. Then she started loading food. She took serving dishes, casserole pans, pie plates, everything. She made 4 trips to her car, loading my entire Thanksgiving dinner into her trunk. On the last trip, she actually paused, took out her phone, and took a selfie in my kitchen with my food. Then she left, locking the door behind her. The whole theft took 12 minutes. 12 minutes to destroy 3 days of my work and ruin Thanksgiving for 20 people. I showed the video to Tom. His face went from pale to red to purple. "I'm going to kill her," he said. My father said, "Show me that video again." We watched it 3 more times. Every guest crowded around to see. The room was silent except for gasps of disbelief and anger. Rachel started crying. "That's our mother," she said. "That's our mother stealing food and lying about it on Facebook." Tom tried calling Linda again. This time she answered. "Hi honey, I'm so sorry I'm running late. I'll be there soon." Her voice was cheerful. Casual, like she hadn't just committed theft. "Mom, where are you?" Tom asked, his voice deadly calm. "At Richard's house. Why? And what are you doing at Richard's house?" "We're having Thanksgiving dinner with his family." "What are you serving for?" "Thanksgiving dinner, Mom." Silence. Then, "I made a few dishes." "You made a few dishes?" "Yes." "Mom, what dishes did you make?" More silence. Linda knew she was caught. "Tom, I can explain. You're at Richard's house serving my wife's food and telling everyone you cooked it. I was going to replace it. You stole from us. You came into our house and stole 3 days' worth of cooking." Linda tried to argue. She claimed she'd panicked because she'd promised Richard a homemade Thanksgiving and didn't have time to cook. She claimed she was going to buy us restaurant food to replace it. She claimed I wouldn't have minded if I'd known it was for a good cause. She claimed Tom was being dramatic. And it was just food and not a big deal. Tom told her it was absolutely a big deal. That she'd committed theft. That she'd humiliated his wife. And that she was no longer welcome in our home. Linda started crying and saying Tom was choosing a woman over his own mother. Tom hung up. We ordered pizza for 20 people. It arrived 45 minutes later. And we had the strangest Thanksgiving dinner of my life, pizza, store-bought salad, and the ice Tom had picked up. Everyone tried to make the best of it, but the day was ruined. My mother kept hugging me. Rachel kept apologizing for Linda's behavior. Tom kept pacing and checking his phone. And I kept thinking about Linda at Richard's house. Serving my food, accepting compliments for my cooking, pretending to be someone she wasn't. At 8 p.m., after everyone had left and Tom and I were alone in our living room, I made a decision. Linda wanted to play games? Fine. I'd play. But I'd play to win. I posted my comment, then I attached the security video. I tagged Linda. I tagged Richard. I tagged every family member who'd commented. Then I hit share on my own Facebook page with the caption, "When your mother-in-law steals your entire Thanksgiving dinner to impress her new boyfriend." Within minutes, the comments started rolling in. Tom's aunt, Linda, "Is this true?" Rachel, "Yes, it's true. I was there when we found out. Mom stole everything Diana cooked." My mother, "This video is shocking. Linda entered their home without permission and took food. Diana spent 3 days preparing." Tom's cousin, "Wait, Linda didn't cook any of this?" My sister, "Theft is theft, even if it's family." Linda's response came 20 minutes later. She tried to delete her original post. Too late, I'd already screenshot it and dozens of people had shared it. She tried to delete my comment. You can't delete someone else's comment on your post once it has replies. She tried to post a response explaining herself, but the damage was done. Every comment on her explanation was calling her out. "So you admit you stole it? You filed a police report?" Linda, "This is beyond inappropriate. Poor Diana worked for 3 days." Even Richard commented, "Linda, you told me you cooked all this food." That comment told me everything I needed to know. By Friday afternoon, Linda's phone was ringing non-stop. Family members were calling her demanding explanations. Friends were messaging her asking if the video was real. Richard had apparently broken up with her via text. Someone shared that detail in the family group chat. Linda called Tom crying, begging him to make me take down the video. Tom told her she'd brought this on herself. Linda called me directly. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. Diana, please take down that video. You're ruining my life. I made a mistake. I'll pay you back for the food. Please, I'm begging you. I saved the voicemail and didn't respond. Saturday morning, Linda showed up at our house. I saw her through the window and didn't open the door. She rang the doorbell 5 times. She knocked. She called Tom. Tom told her to leave or he'd call the police. She shouted through the door, Diana, please. I'm sorry. I'll do anything. I opened the door halfway, keeping the chain lock on. Linda looked terrible, no makeup, swollen eyes, wrinkled clothes. Diana, please take down the video. Everyone hates me. Richard broke up with me. My friends won't talk to me. Please. I looked at her calmly and said, you stole 3 days of my work. You ruined Thanksgiving for 20 people. You showed zero remorse until you faced consequences. The video stays up. But I apologized. Linda cried. You apologized because you got caught and everyone knows the truth. That's not real remorse. I'll pay you back. It's not about the money, Linda. It's about respect. You've disrespected me since the day I met Tom. You've undermined me, criticized me, invaded my privacy, and now you've stolen from me. And you only care about consequences when they affect you. I'm his mother. And I'm his wife. The wife you've spent 5 years trying to get rid of. Well, congratulations, Linda. You didn't get rid of me. But you did get rid of your relationship with your son. Tom appeared behind me. Mom, Diana's right. You've been awful to her for years. This was the final straw. Until you can show genuine respect and remorse, you're not welcome here. Linda looked between us, her face crumbling. You're choosing her over me? Tom put his arm around me. I'm choosing my wife and our peace. You need to leave. Linda left sobbing. I closed the door and immediately changed the locks. That afternoon, I had a locksmith install new deadbolts on every door. Linda's key was now worthless. Sunday, Linda's sister, Tom's Aunt Carol, called me. Diana, I need to apologize on behalf of the family. What Linda did was unforgivable. I saw the video. I can't believe she'd do something so cruel and then lie about it. You have every right to be angry. Carol then told me something I hadn't known. Apparently, Linda had been pulling similar stunts for years. She'd taken credit for Carol's quilts at a church auction. She'd claimed she'd made Tom's sister Rachel's wedding cake when Rachel had hired a professional baker. She'd shown up at Tom's college graduation with a photo album she claimed to have made herself but had actually been made by Tom's grandmother. Linda had a pattern of taking other people's work and claiming it as her own. The difference is, Carol said, you had video proof. You exposed her. And now everyone knows who she really is. By Monday, the video had been shared over 500 times. It had reached people outside our immediate circle, friends of friends, coworkers, acquaintances. I started getting messages from people I barely knew. I saw what your MIL did. I'm so sorry. That video is insane. My MIL is terrible, but at least she never stole my holiday dinner. The story was spreading beyond Facebook. Someone had posted it to Reddit and it had gone viral. Thousands of comments from strangers, supporting me and condemning Linda. This is psychotic behavior. The audacity to take a selfie. She didn't just steal food. She stole 3 days of labor. I hope she faces legal consequences. The police called me Tuesday. Linda had been questioned and admitted to taking the food but claimed she'd planned to replace it. The officer told me I could press charges if I wanted. Given the video evidence and her admission, we could charge her with theft and trespassing. It's up to you. I thought about it for a full day. Wednesday, I decided not to press criminal charges. Not because Linda deserved mercy, but because the social consequences were already devastating. Her reputation was destroyed. Her relationship was over. Her family was ashamed of her. Her friends had distanced themselves. Pressing charges felt like overkill. The public humiliation was punishment enough. But I did file for a restraining order. I gathered the security footage. Linda's history of entering our home uninvited. Her Facebook post, her refusal to leave when asked. And her pattern of harassment. Thursday, exactly 1 week after Thanksgiving, a judge granted a temporary restraining order requiring Linda to stay at least 500 feet from me, Tom, and our home. The order was served Friday afternoon. Linda called Tom hysterical. You're getting restraining orders against your own mother? Tom stayed firm. You left us no choice, Mom. You've proven you can't respect boundaries. Thanksgiving weekend had turned into the week that changed everything. In 7 days, Linda went from pretending to be the perfect girlfriend to being a social pariah with a restraining order. Her Facebook post was still circulating with my comment and video attached. Every time someone new found it, the cycle of shock and condemnation started again. I'd stopped reading the comments after the first 1,000, but Tom would occasionally update me. Someone made a TikTok about it. It's on Twitter now. A blogger wrote an article titled, "The Mother-in-Law Who Stole Thanksgiving." The story had taken on a life of its own. 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, Tom's sister Rachel came over for coffee. "Diana, I need to tell you something. Part of me is glad this happened." I looked at her, surprised. "I mean, obviously I wish Mom hadn't stolen your food. But I'm glad she finally faced real consequences. She's been pulling stuff like this my whole life and getting away with it because no one ever called her out publicly. Dad would excuse her behavior. Tom would say, that's just how Mom is. I'd stay quiet to keep the peace. But you didn't stay quiet. You had evidence and you used it. And now everyone knows the truth about her." Rachel told me more stories. About how Linda had taken credit for Rachel's art projects in school. How Linda had told Rachel's prom date that Rachel wasn't interested, so Linda could set up her own friend's daughter with him instead. How Linda had borrowed Rachel's wedding dress the night before Rachel's wedding to show her own friends, and returned it with makeup stains. She's always been jealous of anyone getting attention that wasn't focused on her. You were getting attention for hosting Thanksgiving and cooking this amazing meal. She couldn't handle it. So she took it. 3 weeks after Thanksgiving, I hosted a redo. Same guest list, same menu, same everything, except this time I cooked everything on Thanksgiving Day itself, so there was no window for theft. Security cameras were recording. New locks meant Linda couldn't enter even if she tried. Tom joked about putting a guard dog in the kitchen. I spent Thanksgiving morning cooking with my mother, Tom, and Rachel helping. By 2 p.m., my kitchen was full again. The turkey was perfect. The sides were delicious. The pies were beautiful. This time, when guests arrived, there was actually food to serve them. During dinner, someone brought up the incident. Everyone groaned and laughed. But there was relief too. We'd turned a disaster into a funny story. Remember when Linda stole Thanksgiving? Would become a family legend. Not because it was actually funny, it wasn't. But because we'd survived it and come out stronger. Tom stood up to his mother. I enforced boundaries. The family rallied around us. And Linda learned that actions have consequences. For weeks after Thanksgiving, Linda sent a letter. Not to me, to Tom. 5 pages, handwritten, explaining herself. She wrote about how she'd felt invisible after Tom's father died. How Richard had made her feel seen and special. How she'd wanted to impress him and panicked when she realized she didn't have time to cook. She wrote that stealing my food was wrong and she understood why I was angry. She wrote that she'd been jealous of me since the day Tom and I met because she saw me taking her son away. She wrote that she knew her behavior had driven us apart and she regretted it. At the end, she wrote, I understand if Diana never forgives me. I understand if I'm not part of your life anymore. But I hope someday you can forgive me for being a bad mother. Tom showed me the letter. What do you think? He asked. I read it twice. I think she's sorry she got caught. I think she's sorry she lost Richard. I think she's sorry everyone knows the truth. But I don't think she's genuinely sorry for hurting me. So what do? We do nothing. The restraining order stands. She's not welcome here. If she wants to rebuild a relationship with you someday, that's between you two. But she and I? We're done. 5 weeks after Thanksgiving, I posted one final Facebook update. I shared a photo from our redo Thanksgiving, the table full of food. Guests smiling, everyone happy. The caption, Thanksgiving 2.0 was a success. Thank you to everyone who supported me through the weirdest holiday drama ever. To anyone dealing with difficult in-laws, you deserve respect. Boundaries are healthy, and sometimes exposure is the only way to stop bad behavior. Protect your peace. The post got hundreds of supportive comments. And Linda, wherever she was, saw it. I know because someone told me she'd commented from a friend's account. You didn't have to destroy me publicly. I deleted the comment and blocked the account. Now, 6 weeks later, life is peaceful. Linda occasionally texts Tom, but he rarely responds. She's apparently in therapy, which is good for her. She hasn't tried to contact me. The restraining order is still active. Our house feels like ours. Again, without the constant threat of Linda appearing unannounced. Tom and I are closer than ever because he finally put me first. And I learned something important. I don't have to accept mistreatment just because someone is family. I don't have to stay silent to keep the peace. And sometimes, the best response to someone stealing from you is making sure everyone knows exactly what they did. People ask if I regret posting the video. I don't. Linda spent 5 years making me feel small, criticizing my cooking, invading my space, and undermining my marriage. Then she stole from me and lied about it publicly. The video was simply the truth. If the truth destroyed her reputation, that's on her, not me. She made her choices. I just made sure there were consequences. Some people think I went too far. My mother-in-law's friends certainly think so. But those people didn't spend 3 days cooking only to have it stolen. Those people didn't watch their mother-in-law take a selfie with stolen food. Those people didn't have to serve pizza to 20 guests on Thanksgiving because someone decided their new boyfriend was more important than basic decency. So here's what I want to know from you. If your mother-in-law stole your Thanksgiving dinner and claimed she cooked it, what would you have done? Comment, expose her if you'd post the video like I did. Comment, press charges if you'd go straight to the police. Comment, cut her OFF if you'd never speak to her again. And if you think I went too far by posting the video publicly, comment, too much, and tell me what you would have done instead. But most importantly, if you believe in standing up for yourself and setting boundaries even with family, subscribe right now. We're building a community where women support women, where taking up space isn't selfish, and where consequences exist for bad behavior. My name is Diana. I'm 32 years old. My mother-in-law stole my entire Thanksgiving dinner to impress her new boyfriend. She thought she'd get away with it because family doesn't call out family. She was wrong. I had security footage, I had receipts, and I had enough. So I posted the truth. And the truth destroyed the reputation she'd built on lies. She stole my Thanksgiving. I took her dignity. Some people call that petty. I call it karma. And honestly, I'd do it again. Thank you for listening to my confession.